Why do some people struggle to lose weight and others gain it? This is a question I'll be attempting to answer in this video. There's a few different angles I'm going to approach this from, but as we live in a cause and effect realm, let's start at the beginning. All our problems in this area start with when we eat the wrong foods. Foods that the human is not designed to eat. From my experience, and if you just look at our anatomy, this would be meats, dairy, grains, beans, things of that nature. All these things are super complex chemistry, and it's really hard for our body to break them down if they do at all. So when we eat these foods, or non-foods as I like to call them, the bowel transit time is a lot longer than if we were to eat, say, fruits, soft green leafy vegetables, and that's really it. So when the bowel transit time of our food, which is also affected by the way we cook things, is too long, things begin to ferment and putrefy in our GI tract. This is when we start to get help from our bacterial and parasitic friends, which a lot of times is confused with infections like yeast infections or candida, SIBO, things like this. While the people diagnosing these conditions aren't exactly wrong, I think the way they look at it is. As I said, everything is cause and effect. So if you continue to eat in a way that proliferates these microbial helpers, then they're going to continue to show up and continue to break down said foods because we can't. Even if you didn't know this and you weren't looking at things in this way, and you're interested in health, even at a very low level, I'm sure you would have heard of a phenomena known as the microbiome. Everyone knows at some level that we're full of microbes and that they help us break things down, and with certain other processes they assist. But when things get a little uncomfortable and out of hand, they think there's something wrong. Well, there is, but they're just not conscious of the fact that they're the ones that have created this, and their little friends are simply working overtime to help correct it. So when it comes to weight gain and weight loss, when this bowel transit time is too long, things are sitting inside us longer than they should. And as I said, they putrefy and ferment. And that's when weight gain occurs. It's food in versus food out. Think of things that way instead of calories in, calories out. While the calories in, calories out model can be helpful, in my experience, this is only the case after you've switched to eating a natural human diet. One that is full of hydration, flows through the body nice and quickly, doesn't get held up for too long, and it doesn't take microbes and bacteria at a large scale to be broken down. Simple sugars. So this might take you a while to clean out. The old food might be different for everyone. In fact, I can almost guarantee that it will be. So there's a few different ways you can start correcting this issue of having things stuck inside. You could go on a juice fast, which will be like getting a brand new container for your expensive wine. You wouldn't put new wine in an old container. So that's one way to do it. You could also just start by eating more raw foods and have more of a mucusless diet approach, where there's a slow transition towards a better way of eating and therefore a better way of life. This incorporates some cooking, so it's much more user-friendly. Let's say it's less of a shock to the system. So it really depends on your personality type. Just make sure that you're being true to yourself and you're not just coping. As with most things, when it comes to improvement, there has to be some level of discipline. So just keep that in mind. But there are multiple approaches, so you don't have to feel like you're being dogmatic and there's only one way. And that's something that I can help assist you with through my coaching. So we've covered why eating the wrong foods causes weight gain and weight loss. Just to recap, it's because we are not the ones actually breaking down the food. This is the cause. Now I'm going to touch on the effect, which is probably something you've not heard in a video before, unless you've been watching my other videos. So the cause is the wrong foods. The effect is our endocrinology not working properly. Specifically, and most importantly, our adrenal glands. Two glands that sit on top of the kidneys, that's why they're called adrenal, and thyroid as well. That plays a massive role in metabolism. Let's start at the kidneys and adrenals because these are probably the most important organs and glands that people don't seem to understand. And when you actually break it down, pretty much every dis-ease condition can be traced back to kidneys and their lack of function. No one on this plane has 100% functioning kidneys, and that's just how it is. So let's go back to this whole kitchen bathroom scenario. Cells, just like you and me, need to eat and poop. From a biological standpoint, this is the kitchen, the blood, and the lymph is the bathroom. So the blood is the alkaline feeding side, the electrical side. It feeds the cells with everything they need, turns them on, along with the nervous system. The blood feeds, the lymph cleans, and the nerves turn everything on. So this all works fine when things are flowing smoothly, when we're eating the right foods designed for man. The lymph is cleaning things at least as quick as the blood is feeding them. There's no problems. So all your endocrine glands are working properly. They're not getting over or understimulated. At the end of the day, they're just cells, albeit for a specific purpose, but they're just tissues made up of cells. So over a period of time of eating these wrong foods, the lymphatic system is going to start to back up. And I'm not exactly sure of the mechanism of why the following occurs, but in some people this manifests as hypo condition or a hyper condition. Hypo being slow, things are underactive. Think like hypothyroidism. So you might see like a fast or a slow metabolism in this area if it's hypo or hyper. And obviously that plays a role in weight gain and weight loss. So as you can see, it's pretty simple. There's not really much more to explain there. When the cellular wastes are backed up and they're not allowed to freely flow to our septic tanks, which are our lymph nodes, and then out to the kidneys and then urinated, things become stagnant. Think of like a stream that's drying up. There hasn't been much rain. There's a lot of algae in it, a lot of bacterial activity. It's literally the same mechanism. There's always bacteria present when things aren't flowing and things need to be broken down. That's just how it is. We're in a cell recycling realm here. Nothing can be created unless something else is broken down first. So fruits help reverse this struggle of gaining weight or losing weight because they're super hydrating. They're electrical foods, they're alkaline foods. From a residual standpoint, when they're actually digested, and by that I mean we as humans can digest them without much or any help from the bacterial family, they leave an alkaline residue and more of an astringent pulling sensation on the cells so the lymph can move freely. Because unlike the blood, the lymph doesn't have a heart. to move things around. It relies solely on diet and movement, which is why a lot of things can be remedied just through movement. It doesn't have to be super strenuous. It can be something gentle like yoga or walking. But exercise without functioning kidneys / a working lymph can cause a lot of its own problems. This is when you start to see joint loss. If you've been a runner for most of your life and you start to have knee pain, this is why. It's not because you've been running, it's because you're not removing the wastes in that area. It's a high tension area. There's obviously lots of acid from the activity, lots of metabolic wastes that are getting stuck in that area, and they're not making their way to the kidneys and out of the body properly. The human body is really over-engineered to combat these problems, and it's why it takes decades for these problems to manifest in a lot of cases, which I think is part of the reason why things haven't clicked with most of the population. It's just seen as normal, and it is normal, but it doesn't mean it's natural. There's a trend for people to break down and get worse as they get older, which will happen to some degree, but we won't see the massive percentage drop off in performance and function like we do. And it's really mostly a Western thing because of our diet. There's a lot of other islander cultures that don't see this, and you don't really see it in nature. If you've watched any kind of nature documentary, you'll see that the apes, for example, like a chimpanzee, when they get old, they can still pretty much keep up with the young ones. But something about them, they just know it's their time, and they'll just slink off into the forest by themselves and quietly pass. There's no kidney disease that we know of. There's no diabetes. They don't need wheelchairs or crutches, any kind of medication, which I'm sure a few people would love to see happen, but it's just not how it is. And it shouldn't be how it is. So getting a bit off track there, but I just thought that was important to point out. Always look at things from a higher level. How would nature do it? How is nature doing it? Let's return back to that because it knows best. So just touching on the adrenals again, because I kind of blew past that without really explaining it. Our adrenal glands are responsible for a lot of steroid production, and they're also quite important in the role of sugar metabolism. So most people's diets are high in sugar content in one degree or another, through either simple sugars, fruits, vegetables are high in sugar, depending on what it is, but they are sugar, cellulose and things like that. Then you've got your disaccharides and your polysaccharides. So this is like your grains, your beans, things that are hard to break down, leave a mucousy residue in the body. This is really hard on the adrenals, and they don't really know what to do with these foods. They don't have the chemistry to help break them down, and that's when we get the help from the bacteria and the parasites in some instances. Fruits reverse this through hydration. Once everything's clean and moving, then tissues, with the help of herbs in some cases, can be stimulated at a normal rate, and things will normalize. You will return back to your natural weight, and there won't be any struggle because you're eating the right foods in the right volumes. You'll have the right enzymatic activity. You won't have those crippling hunger pains. That all-gone feeling in your stomach isn't true hunger. It's a detox symptom in my experience. And I just experienced this again like 2 days ago from having just a little bit of cooked sauce on my salad. It's immediately noticeable. So once you clean out and start to do these little experiments, it becomes blindingly obvious what the causes are of these things. True hunger is like a wetting sensation in the throat. Like when someone says something is mouth-watering, that's hunger. There shouldn't be any secondary sensation in the stomach. So bacteria break down the sugars, and the parasites break down the flesh. This is putrefaction. Because our GI tract is not at all designed to eat flesh. It's not like a cat's, where it's super short and it's nice and smooth on the inside, so things can just pass through and they need to go to the bathroom for a number two before they've even finished chowing down. We have lots of small finger-like villi in our small intestine where most things are absorbed. And when a piece of meat comes in and it can't be broken down, it just sits in there. And most carnivores would attest to this. I've heard it personally that they don't go to the toilet for days, which is not good. So we need these parasites to come in and break down this flesh. Otherwise it's just going to putrefy because we can't digest it. And a lot of it will just come out in the stool. The energy and the strength that one gets from eating this flesh is mainly due to the hormones and pretty much the drugs in the flesh itself. All the adrenaline which is stored in this tissue, you're consuming that. There's no way to kill an animal without this being present in the tissue. There's going to be a massive influx of this chemistry once the animal figures out what's going on and you're ingesting that. So it's a highly stimulated diet as opposed to a dynamic cellular energy diet. I don't want to bash other people's diets too much, but this is what I've seen. It's glaringly obvious once you remove these foods, things like coffee as well. Anything that's labeled as stimulant is going to be taking away from your endocrine system and substituting its function. The endocrine glands will just turn off if there's chemistry coming in that replace the things that they're supposed to produce. Say if someone has like high blood pressure due to whatever, it's a number of things together, and they start eating a natural diet without stimulants and they start cleaning out, you'll actually see that they have low blood pressure. Pretty much everything is in opposites. There's always a duality, there's always a contrast. Low is high, high is low. Once you start doing this for yourself, you'll see what I mean. And just quickly to touch on keto and why these kinds of diets you do see success on. There's no disputing it. You can get some pretty awesome weight loss, success, and even a reduction in symptoms. And this is due to the fact that they're correcting 3 of the 5 main mistakes that humans made when it comes to food. First one being the cooking of the food and the eating of animals, so they're not correcting those, but the other 3, the processing of foods, or eating processed foods, eating vegetables that were not biologically adapted to eat, like the grains and things like this, and I forget the other one for now, but you get the gist of it. So keto, it's high in fat, which, as you may or may not know by now, fats buffer acids, so you'll never see a food that's higher in protein than it is in fat. And if you do, it's probably not a natural food. 58% of the dietary protein from these diets can be used towards a process called gluconeogenesis, which is the process of the body breaking down foreign material, fats, proteins, really anything that's not a simple sugar, and it turns it into sugar. This is super hard on the body, and as I already mentioned, the adrenal glands and other endocrinology, it's not super efficient. But you may feel like you have heaps of energy, and you do, but it's from this stimulation and this emergency system. Not that I like to quote studies very often, but there was a study done, and I'll see if I can find it and link it in this video, but there was a study done with 2 different cohorts of people. One half followed a keto style diet and the other a high carb diet. The protein was the same. It was a control in this experiment. So the only thing they manipulated was the fats and carbs. And I'm unsure if there was any weight or strength training involved. Basically, at the end of the test, they tested the muscle mass of these 2 cohorts. And on average, the high carbohydrate side gained, I'm going to get the numbers wrong here, but basically they gained muscle and the keto group lost muscle. Protein was the same. So basically these keto diets, the protein is required through this gluconeogenesis process to protect the body from going after its own lean tissue. The great John Rose talks about a carbohydrate fuel tank. On average, this is about 1,500 calories worth. And the whole purpose of us eating these high sugar foods and fruits is to keep this carbohydrate fuel tank topped off. When we have enough carbs and sugars in our system, the body doesn't need to turn to gluconeogenesis and start going after its own lean tissue. This is why you see people lose weight on water fasts and things like that, because eventually the carbohydrate fuel tank drains out or gets used up, and there's nothing to protect against muscle loss effectively. Keto is circumventing this in a roundabout way through the gluconeogenesis process. In my experience, it's much easier just to fuel up on carbs constantly. You'll have more energy, it's a more consistent energy, and it's not stimulatory. So this video has been a bit longer than usual, and it was a bit all over the place as usual, but I'm getting better at keeping things coherent and on track. If you know you're in trouble in one way or another with your health, or you just want to lose weight, the goal isn't just to lose weight, it's to be healthy. And to be overweight means you're unhealthy. The body can be more optimized, and eating this natural diet of fruits and vegetables raw will help you return to that natural weight. And if you need help from the herbal family, then that'll really help turn the endocrine glands on as well once things are cleaned out and able to breathe. So there's a link in the description below this video for you to book a 15-minute discovery call with me. We'll have a quick chat, see if our preferences align, and we'll get on a program that'll set you on the right path to true healing. So if that's something you're interested in, check it out. I've only got it set for 3 days into the future, so once you book, you won't forget. I look forward to seeing you there. Thanks for watching.